Hey, everybody. Welcome into the podcast. Welcome into the show. As you could tell, my good friend Keith over there is, if for those of you that are watching the show, you can tell my good friend Keith is on location at a specific site. We're going to be talking about something pretty important to us, pretty important to a lot of people out there on the show today. You want to just go ahead and kind of let the cat out of the bag, Keith?
Well, Jay, I'm out here in the woods looking at Nissan behind me. Got Nissan back here. Thought
Right on.
I'd do a little reconnaissance work, right?
Yep.
Couldn't hurt, as they say, right?
That's right. Yep, it's
Because,
yeah.
Hold on. I got somebody microwaving a looks like a just crack an egg lunch meal.
Yeah, so Keith is at Nissan North America headquarters there in wonderful. Is that right?
I'm within sight. I'm not on the property.
You're near the campus.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah. So, and there's a reason why he's there, folks. We are going to be talking today about the pot getting stirred in the industry for a potential new Z coming our way. The 400Z, we want to talk about it. And we're gonna give our opinion and share some opinions of other people on basically what Nissan needs to do to get this thing right. Considering some of the turmoil that they've been involved in over the last several years.
That's right, Jay. I got my list ready. You got your list ready?
I do have my list.
We're gonna do 10 things Nissan needs to get right for the next generation Z car, which looks like it's going to be a 2021. You're going to do 5. I'm going to do 5. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this as a former Z car owner and enthusiast. So I decided, why not just sneak out here in the woods and see what I couldn't uncover.
Oh man, this is great. This is fun. This will be fun. Well,
Carry on. I'm gonna see what I can find out while you're doing it.
Keep looking on your reconnaissance mission there, but let me tell you what you're going to get with an AERA membership. Here's just a few of the benefits you'll receive. Okay, you'll get toll-free technical support from master engine machinists. You have the availability of Process Pro engine specification software, which is pretty incredible. I use it. I've used it for years. In fact, I'm going to do a little video on that, on how it works. They offer automotive machining online training. They have custom training programs. They have 6 specification manuals, failure analysis manuals, and tech resource manuals. They offer a publication which is called Engine Professional Magazine, and they also are heavily involved and are presenters of webinars, and they are there at these tech and skills regional conferences. So guys, I'm telling you, you want to join up and become an AERA member. Again, you have toll-free access to 5 technicians 5 days a week. They'll help you find the answers to tough technical questions coming from around the globe. And again, don't forget to visit their member locator on their website at www.aera.org/member-locator.
Yep.
And for more information about what AERA can do for you, or again, possibly if you want to join and become a member, an AERA member like we are, go to their website at aera.org. And they will be glad to take care of it.
Do not have your car serviced anywhere that does not have this logo on the door.
That's right.
Again,
awesome.
Personal experience there.
And
right?
again, I will reiterate this, that Keith and I are very honored and happy that these guys are on board with us to sponsor us for these
Thanks to
series.
Everybody at AERA.
Yes, everybody at
Absolutely.
AERA. Thank you so much for that. So, okay, so let's get into the juicy tidbits of why we're here today.
Okay, now I'm gonna try something here. This
Okay.
is live, pseudo live for you guys watching and listening. I'm gonna see, Jay, if I can get to my list without hanging up on this internet call. So
All right.
if I drop you, we'll figure this out, right?
Yes, we'll figure it out.
All right. So can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, that's good because I'm
Yep.
not looking at you.
Well,
All right, I'm ready.
I can hear you, and I can't see you, but that's fine.
Oh, here. Well, let me switch back to my video.
Yeah.
And supposedly on these fancy things, there's a way to. Hang on. Let me see if I can use technology for the sake of technology.
Man, I am so glad. See, we're not only are we the parts counter gurus, but Keith is somewhat of a information technology guru. So he's got it all figured out over there. We're gonna pull through this thing just fine.
So the question is, can I split my screen on an iPad? And I've watched my 10-year-old do this. Why can't I?
Well, you didn't bring
Right?
your technical advisor with you today?
I did not. Foolishly, but then he'd want to be on camera, and
Yeah, I got you. So, have you got your list up? Are you ready to?
I do. I've got my list, and you know what? I'm gonna just keep toggling back and forth.
That's fine. I can hear you. As long as I can hear you, I'm good, and we'll get through this. And first and foremost, though, can I give a shout out to somebody who has actually helped me contribute some things here today?
Shout away.
Okay, so I'd like to give Judge Mack a shout out. I reached out to him this morning before we started podcasting because he is like a Z car lover. He loves Nissan, and so I asked him a few questions, and he's spot on with what he thinks should be going down. And we had some similar answers, but he really had a little bit more insight into the depth of what Nissan really needs to do. And I think that I am definitely 100% in agreement with him on that. And so I'll bring out some of his quotes, and I'm gonna quote him on something, and I think is an excellent passage to this when we get close to finishing up here today. So
I'll tell you what, the first thing they need to do is get somebody up there and wash that top level of windows, man. They're so dirty. I'm having a hard time seeing through the top level. The lower level's not so difficult, not so bad.
I got you.
So we're gonna do a list of 10 things Nissan needs to get right on this new Z, the 2021 Z.
Let's
5 things from each.
Yeah. Clarify that. 5 from each, not 10 from me and 10 from you, but 5 each. We don't want to go that long, but we could talk all day. But
yep.
So
and this is in similar fashion to something we did with the Corvette, and we've done this with a few other things, and people seem to like it. So
it's
I've
just
got
fun.
my list.
It's a lot of fun. It's just it's opinion based. So
are we who's going first? Do we need to rock paper scissors this, or what's the?
I think you should go first.
Okay. As a former Z owner, now I know you've. Actually, okay, it's story time, boys and girls. I want to say maybe 8 or 9 years ago, there was a phone call. It went a little bit like this. Ring, ring.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Jay, I'm thinking about buying a new car. I'm looking for a convertible, and I've got it narrowed down to either the Z or the BMW 3 Series with the hardtop convertible. Do you have any research data or thoughts on that?
Yeah, Z. Go Z.
Okay. And that's kind of how it went. I mean, not exactly, but it was something similar. So went out and got one immediately, like even more so than before. Just loved the car till the day I sold it. And honestly, the only reason I sold it was to go RVing with my family, and I'll be right back in the game. Now that I was a little bit worried about a model change, and I didn't want to be stuck with a previous model. So a lot of what I'm about to say here is based on previous experience, not just with the car, but with the company, and living in the neighborhood of the company and having them kind of in my backyard. So let me just get right to it. Okay, I'm going from 5 to 1. My 5th most important thing that Nissan needs to get right with this new Z car, which I'm told is going to be probably the 400Z.
Right.
They're wildly varying, information on how much horsepower and all that, but
Mhm.
you know, somewhere, you know, maybe a couple turbos. Here's what I gotta say, man. Number 5, put launch control on that sucker. Okay,
Ah,
look, if you're gonna do what Z does, okay, and everybody's all hung up on the 0 to 60 time. Now that we got electrics and EVs and all that, okay, fine, fair enough. You want to compete with that? Simple.
yep.
Put launch control on the car, especially if there's a manual transmission version, which I hope there is. We'll get to that in a minute. But I feel like it's not that expensive of an ad for Nissan, and I feel like it's going to go a long way to help deal with the Corvette crowd, right?
Oh, absolutely. But don't forget, they're also going to be competing against the Supra.
Yeah, I
And
knew you were going to throw that in here.
yeah,
And I hope they stop looking in that direction and they start looking up.
well, there's several ways that they can do that. I mean, you first of all, okay, I don't want to get into that until I give my number 5.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's hear your
So-
number 5 then.
Right. So my number 5 is no CVT transmission. Don't go there with that. Have a
Okay,
6-speed manual transmission, man.
So here's what I hope as I try to figure out how to deal with my empty water bottle and keep it from blowing away. So I had the they called it Techno Rev. It's kind of a fancy marketing term on my Z. I had the manual trans, and basically what it did was, I'm going to have to explain this without using my hands, Jay. I feel so like encumbered. But it synchronized the flywheel speed on the manual transmission so that when you downshifted with the clutch, it was snappy and it didn't like yank you like it would normally if you over rev and then you try to drop down, right?
Right. Yeah.
It was awesome. And they used that, it was an electronic based technology that they used to accomplish that, and I freaking loved it. And if they keep that feature, if they keep something in those lines, then they cannot do it with CVT. I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I mean that I think they would be foolish because let's face it. Look, the Nissan Z is still truly, in my opinion, one of the only like analog type sports coupes. Man, I mean it's like, and I want them to keep it that way. But they do need to drop some technical, some modern technical improvements in this thing, like you were just saying. Now, let me ask you a question. Your Z, wasn't it, if I'm not mistaken, it had that was a Nismo package, right?
No, I had the convertible, which Nissan calls the Roadster.
Okay, yeah.
And you could not get a Nismo package on the Roadster. So what I did was I had it basically spec'd out from the factory with as much Nismo stuff on it as I could get.
Right.
To get it into that, but it wasn't a true Nismo because it was not the hardtop. It wasn't the coupe.
Right, understand. But I wanted to kind of lay that out because you had somewhat of a rare bird, you know.
I did. Yeah. It was very hard to get.
It was a beautiful car, man. I loved that car. That was a beautiful ride. I hated to see you get rid of it.
We may have to dig a picture up here and throw it on the, on the YouTube side during the podcast. So that leads me into my number 4.
Okay,
right?
Perfect. All right.
This is a car that's designed for performance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now on mine, I had the nav system and I had an infotainment system, and it was kind of minimalistic. And as I go on a lot of these automotive enthusiast websites, and I'm not going to name anybody out specifically, but we've all seen them, and there's articles right now on the Z, and they're all talking about, wow, I hope Nissan puts a touchscreen in the Z, or, wow, I hope they get this, dual climate control, or I hope they get, man, look, that stuff adds to the cost. Put your money in the performance of the car. If you want infotainment, go buy an Infiniti, right? Stay in the same family and go buy the Infiniti. That's not what this car is about.
No.
I don't care about being able to, it's a 2-seater, so it's not like you're going to have DVD screens behind you, but they need to keep it simple inside. I don't care about gadgets. I don't care about all the extra buttons. A launch control button would be nice. The ability to turn off traction control, absolutely. Do not, Nissan, start bloating this thing down with a bunch of crap buttons because I don't care about all that on a Z car. I do not care about that stuff in a Z car.
Right.
Okay.
I
Let
hear
it
you.
work with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You know, give me the option for a nav system. Make sure it integrates with my phone, and we're done. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
You don't need. Yeah. You need to be focusing on, if it's any tech, it needs to be focused on the performance of the vehicle.
Yep. I want a performance car under $60,000, and I'm not going to get that if I start throwing in a bunch of like.
You're absolutely correct. And speaking of that, okay, so they're going to have to keep this thing under 50 grand to be able to compete, man. This is my number 4. They're going to have to be able to compete out there, and you're going to have to stay under 50K. And here's why. Because the GR, the Super GR, that thing ranges in price between 53 grand and 57 grand. Okay? Yep. And that's who they're going up against. And you know, I'm leading into this because that's who they have to compete against right now.
My head's in a little bit different space with this. I would rather them not look at Toyota at all. I would rather them not even pay attention to Toyota, because I am telling you as a Z owner, if you know what you're doing in one of these cars, and these are not 0 to 60 cars, right? They're track stars.
Yeah.
It's the total package. It's getting lap times down. And Nissan did that with the GTR, right? Like 0 to 60, they've never shown up and went, we're trying to win that game.
Right.
But if you know what you're doing in one of those cars, I cannot tell you. I mean, allegedly, okay? Wouldn't. Yeah. I might know someone that smoked a lot of Corvettes off the red light, right? That thought that, you know, and if you know what you're doing, the car's light and it will go.
Right.
And I've had the same. Well, allegedly, I you know, speaking for a friend here, but had a couple Ferraris, Ferrari California, smoked it. But if you just start worrying about the Supra, and no offense to Toyota fans here, but that's really not even a Toyota anyway, you're kind of lowering the bar. Go after the Corvette crowd, man.
Yeah.
Go after the Jaguar F-Type crowd. Go after that $60,000 to $100,000 range and be the price leader in that, and you get a lot more bang for your buck, so to speak.
Right. Okay. No, and I don't disagree with you at all, but you're right. Your head is in a different space than mine is with that, which is I do believe that Nissan has to compete. Okay.
Yeah.
And their closest competitor at that level at this point is going to be that Toyota Supra.
Oh,
okay?
Don't get me wrong. If I had bought one of these new Zs in 2021 and I lost to a Supra, I'd be annoyed.
Right. Okay. So it's go into yours now. I've done my number 4.
All right, so let's see here on the list. Number 3. Oh, here we go. So, a lot of times when they do a model change, a convertible is an afterthought, and that can't be. You know, this is a 2-seater automobile. If you look at the other options in that category, there is a high demand for convertibles, and if Nissan does not release in the same year that they release the new, like if they take the convertible off their offering list until they have time to ramp that back up, I think it's a huge mistake. I think they've got to come out with both right away, because there are some guys like me, that's a third car, and if you're going to spend the money on a third automobile, I want a convertible. Yeah. I know you lose a little bit of time in performance because of the wind drag and all that. Don't care. Yeah. Want the convertible, willing to trade. I'm not putting it on the track anyway.
Right. Well, I get it, and I completely get that, and that kind of ties into my third, which is I think that they ought to pay homage to the 240, the 260, the 280. And if you looked at the Nissan Next ad campaign that they have rolling right now, and you look at the profile of the Z in the commercial, you kind of see a little resemblance of that paying a little bit of respect to the old 240, 260, 280. The back end, it's got that nice sleek Z line, man, in my opinion, is what
so there are guys that have come out and they have done renderings based on the silhouettes that we saw in that commercial. So if you haven't seen this commercial, Nissan released kind of a product lineup commercial about a week ago.
Yeah.
And you can find it on YouTube, and it shows all their cars. And then at the very beginning and the end, they reference the new Z that's coming, right? So guys are taking that image and they're rendering it what they hope. It does look like from the lines, from the silhouette, they are going to pay tribute to some of the previous generations of the car.
Yep.
And almost I've seen and heard it referenced like some of that Japanese fighter pilot, kind of the Zero kind of look.
Yes.
You know, which that's awesome. Like,
I heard that they're going to be taking some of like the tail lights, the design there, and the headlights are going to like be a combination of like the old 260, and then the back end like the 280. Now they all have the same long nose on them.
Yeah.
And so
well,
that's
you got
what
to. It's a lot of engine to go in there.
Right. So that's what you're seeing in the silhouettes that you know that we're seeing in this Nissan Next. Which, by the way, guys, if you want to stay in the know on what is going on with Nissan, they launched this campaign. You can follow them on Twitter, and it will be at Nissan, and in all caps, Next, Next. So that's at Nissan Next, and you can find that on Twitter, and I would follow them, and then you'll get like the latest information that may become available. So, all right, so I roofline, we agree on that. See, it's amazing to me. We're always somewhere in the same ball field, man. You know.
What did you actually write down for your number 3?
That was it.
Okay. Well, anytime I can steal your ideas, Jay, I'm glad to, you know, because look, I showed up today to steal, right? I mean, binoculars and all.
That's how it works, man. Yeah. You're keeping tabs on those guys over there. So
hey,
let's go to
You let me go first, buddy. That was your choice.
Right. That's okay. All right, number 2. What's your number 2?
Let's see here. Number two. Okay, now we alluded to this. I'm going to read it out, and then I'm going to jump back over to the meeting. I want to see a manual transmission or a version of manual control. Paddle shifters are okay. I'd be fine with that. But none of that slip into manual mode with the shifter garbage like that you get on automatics. No. Manual trans, please. I understand. I know what the Corvette did. I understand that the old style stick shifter is slower. So fine, if you want to go to paddle shifters or you want to do something centripetal with the fine. But
right.
Innovate with the clutch. Don't innovate by getting rid of the manual transmission.
Right. Yeah, I think that they should stick with a 6-speed manual with the short stub shifter.
You lose so much of the feel and fun of driving that car in an automatic.
Yeah.
If you don't have a manual, and I've driven both.
Yeah,
for
and
Nissan's
Nissan's
out there.
And Nissans, man, the Z cars, you can get those things. It's so fun to get them up close to Redline, man, and they're so fun, man. They're so fun. So
nothing says I work for Nissan, Jay, like a guy with a Z and an automatic transmission.
I think there's going to be a lot of people out there laughing at that one, my friend. Okay, so I agree. That was your number 2, the shifting?
That was my number 2.
Number two. Okay, so my number 2, I did shift this one. Actually, I had 2 number 2s. I'm gonna go with this one because I didn't know where we wanted to go with this or who would come up with what. But I think that they need to offer potentially a ZX package, a ZX package. And
I completely missed that. Yeah.
And here's where I'm going with that is that, you know, you've got the Infiniti series, like the Q50 Redline. Okay, so these are twin turbo.
Yep.
So these things have been naturally aspirated
for a long time.
Man. Yep. So wouldn't it be nice to see a twin turbo just drop that package in there, man, and give that option?
That's been rumored. There's been some pretty good background supporting evidence behind the leak info that says it's going to happen. The question is, where is it going to happen in the lineup? Like, is it going to be in the base model, or are you going to have to spend to get that? Personally, I'm okay with coming in and trying to, you know, compete on price with the super crowd, like you said, and just giving them a naturally aspirated version. Although, then you kind of got to support 2 engines. And if they go to the Infinity engine that it's talking about, that a lot of people have suspected they're going to use,
Yeah.
then you just go with that engine, and it's already twin turbo, and you just put that across the whole lineup.
Yeah,
and
so
that is not a bad engine.
No, it's not. It's a very, very respected vehicle within the automotive industry.
I think they're getting about 400 horsepower out of it now.
It's top. It's significant, man. So there you go. There's that. That's something I think that they should really work on. Of course, that would be probably, I think it's a VR30 is the engine that's in the red line, which is a 3-liter. And then you've got the what's in it now is the VQ37.
Yeah.
So I say you don't abandon those platforms at all. If anything, add the 3.0 in there.
Yeah.
Because that VQ, that 37, man, has been a really, really good engine for Nissan.
I'm okay with that. I'm telling you right now, as a guy who loves these cars and a guy who can't stop smacking the mic, I would totally be okay with spending more on a higher end version, because it's still, Jay, like the GTR is 120, 130,000. You know, you've got $20,000 to $30,000 to play with. If they come in at 50, 45 to 50,
right?
You can still spend up a little bit and get a higher end performance like a Nismo version of that Z, and you're still 20 grand under a Corvette.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it makes sense. Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of guys looking at that Z are not the same people that are looking at, you know, a luxury car. It's a completely different crowd in most cases, you know. But then you got your, you know, just your Nissan lovers, and they may go, well, I just want a convertible. All right, well then just go get the low end version, right? For $49,995 or whatever.
Right. So, all right. So, number one.
Is this my number one? All right, let me switch over here. My number one is, okay, here we go. I've been leading up to this the whole time. It's nothing new. Lap times. It has to be the whole package. Handling, braking, cornering, and speed. Not just 0 to 60. Okay?
Right.
Paul Newman raced and won races in Datsuns. Okay?
Yeah.
The car can do it. Do it. Dominate the sub $100,000 performance car package, if you want to call it that. You can do it, Nissan. You can do it. I don't care so much about 0 to 60. I know I started my list with launch control. That's a nice to have. That's why it's number 5.
Right.
But if you can give me the whole package and I can get good lap times out of this car, for those guys that do want to put them on a track and beat them up, that's, even in the real world, like cornering and acceleration and handling and braking, all those things matter in a performance car, right?
Right.
Do it. You can do it. Lotus does it. These cars are lightweight. Don't worry about beating guys 0 to 60. Forget about the EVs. If you make this thing handle, it will do its job.
Yep, I agree with you on that. That's a good one, man.
It has to be the whole package.
Yep, I get you. Now, so I'm going to go in a different direction than that on my number one.
Okay.
And you're gonna find this interesting, but in order for Nissan to really stand out and take that next step, because they have been so stagnant for so long, right? There's not been a whole lot of extra stuff going around. Just if anything, they cheaped out on everything.
This is, yes, I like where you're going with this.
They were cutting corners, man. I mean, they had to, out of necessity, to save the company. But you got to put the quality in this vehicle first and foremost up front. The quality has to be there. Do not cut corners on this. Now,
amen.
Having said that, I think that it is now time for them to break the mold with this thing. I think you also need to offer an all-wheel drive Nismo version of this thing.
Ooh. Oh, man, now you just... So all these Z fans right now, you've just divided our audience, okay? Because that is such a huge, now I get it, front engine, you got to do that to maybe get a little bit more of what I'm asking for. I do get it. But let's go back to what you're... Okay, let's
go.
You just dropped a couple heavies there and just moved on.
Yeah.
So number one, and I completely agree, this is your brand ambassador. Yeah, I know they make a GTR Skyline, and it's way over $100,000 to get one realistically.
Yep.
This is your brand ambassador. This is
Yep.
within reach of most of the working class. Most of the working class that want a performance car. How's that?
That's right. That's right.
This is your brand ambassador. If people look at this car and they go, it's quality and it's awesome, then that must mean that my minivan is going to be awesome too. Or that my Maxima is going to be awesome too. Or my Altima or whatever, right?
Right.
I completely agree with you. This car is your brand ambassador. They have
Yep.
to get it right. It has to be a good car.
The Z has got to be the one that takes control and take control of the market, and they
Now.
are sitting in the driver's seat to do this.
On to your all-wheel drive notion. Okay. I see what you're trying to accomplish here. You guys, everybody that just bristled up when Jay said that, let's give him a chance, because I think ultimately where you're going with this, Jay, is if you do pull off an all-wheel drive, you now have all those things that I'm asking for in the handling and the cornering.
Absolutely correct.
Now, are you willing to sacrifice no CVT to get this done?
See, that's the tough one. Yeah, see, that's a tough one for me. But are there anything, here's the question though, what does Nissan have on the table in the automatic transmission world that can handle that is not that?
Yeah.
That,
I mean,
do you put your technology, all your marbles in the technology basket there,
yeah,
and bring that to the forefront, man?
I think it's not the right time for Nissan in light of all the problems they're having that we just talked about. I think that it's too risky, and you and I both know that there are guys watching this, ladies and gentlemen watching this very show right now, that when the thought of an all-wheel drive Nissan Z, and they're like, they had the same response I had initially, right?
Oh, sure.
If you divide that group and turn a few of them off, that's sales that Nissan is losing that they desperately need right now.
Yep.
I think you do that when you're on your way up. I think you do that. You do those drastic changes like a CVT all-wheel drive or whatever. You do those kinds of things when you're knocking on the door to number one, right? Not when you're trying to find out ways to keep the company afloat.
Well, I definitely don't want them to get bloated on the model. And when I say that, you don't want to offer too many things. You lose way too much, man, in my opinion. You lose the luster of the base package of the vehicle.
Right.
Because this thing ought to be like, go get them like right out of the chute, just base model ready to go, man.
Yep.
And I agree with you on that. So maybe that's just kind of a wish list thing down the road, because I do think that there is some room for them to do that. But you're right. I would agree with you. They do need to focus on getting this right this first time. So
one thing is for sure, Jay, we are not done talking about this. And it's going to be a topic for quite a while here as we get closer to release.
So let me I'm going to quote Judge Mack here.
All right.
I promised him I would throw something out real quick, because I asked him, just give me some insight. What's your thoughts on it? And he did. He was very, very candid about it. And he loves Nissan, but he also is smart enough to recognize Nissan's had their issues. So here, quote him. He says, "Diehard Z guys will buy this. We both know that, but Nissan hasn't produced anything that amazing in a long time, and it's a shame because, in his opinion, they were once at the pinnacle of Japanese race technology and innovation. Such a long list of awesome cars, and they just let it die." That ties in. So very good insight, Judge.
Take it back to the judge's, like that. There's an analogy there of Japan leading, right?
Yeah.
And back to that Zero and referencing the fighter plane designs, and that was an innovative thing, and everybody hated those things when they heard them, coming. Go back to being an innovator. I mean, they used to have "innovate" as a slogan on their, get back to it. And I completely agree, man.
Yeah, and that ties into absolutely the quality of their work that they used to do versus what they're doing now. I had this conversation last night with someone. Make this thing it has to be Japanese built. It has to be assembled and manufactured in Japan. It has to be a true Japanese model. I do not build this in Alabama. Do not build this in Tennessee.
Coming out of that company and Toyota, if we're going to talk about the Asian Japanese market,
Right.
the best stuff is made in Japan.
Absolutely.
All
it
their
is.
product lineups, the stuff that they're building in Japan has fewer quality issues by and large than the
Right.
stuff built here in the United States. Sorry, guys. That's facts, man.
It's a fact. It's you know, when you get into Asian models, their quality control,
It's better.
it's hands down
Yeah.
better than ours.
Not saying the stuff made here isn't great, just saying
There's some
the
good stuff
in
made in the
Japan
U.S.
tends to be a little better. Yep.
And we're not putting them down. We're just saying that when it comes to vehicles like this, you expect there's a reason why
Yeah.
GM is building the Corvette where they're building the Corvette. Okay.
Right.
They focus all of their R&D there, and they've got the proving ground, the track, and everything. So they have the facility, and that's why they do what they do. So you don't want to take this car and go put it in a factory in Mexico somewhere, man. That's just not how you deal with this.
Yeah.
Okay. You put the Sentra down there. Okay.
Amen.
You build the Sentra there, or you build it in Detroit. One of the two, but. I would prefer it be in Detroit, but we understand globalization. It has its way of sneaking in and moving stuff around the globe for the sake of cost cutting and manageability of the finances. Man, that's the way it works. So there you have it, man. That's a pretty good list. I had a couple of other things. Actually, no, I didn't. We covered them all.
Well, before my battery dies here, maybe we should. Do you mind throwing out a couple of social references and all that stuff?
Not at all. And again, I'd like to take a chance to thank our sponsor today, AERA, Engine Builders Association. Those guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for being on board with us. We appreciate it. And again, you can check those guys out at www.aera.org. To find members and or become a member. So to follow us, check us out on partscounterguru.com. To listen to this podcast, you can go to our podcast link on the same page. Anything that we mention on our podcast, you can buy through our website, and by going to mentioned on the podcast, you'll see some featured items there. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. On Instagram, we're at instagram.com/The Parts Counter Gurus. On Facebook, we're at facebook.com Parts Counter Gurus /Parts Counter Gurus. Over on Twitter, our handle is at The Counter Show. So head over there. Please, on any of these sites, like us, follow us, share, tell a friend. Also, we have a great media channel where we have a lot of DIY videos, product reviews, and we occasionally feature a portion of our live podcast on there. And you can get to youtube.com /Parts Counter Gurus. While you are there, please hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up and ring that bell. All of that helps us continue to do what we're doing. When you're doing that, please share that and tell a friend and have them subscribe. Your subscriptions are free to you, but they are priceless to us. So please give us a hand. And that's my friend Keith over there on location, man, at the Nissan campus, man.
Risking my life for
risking his life
for a podcast. So thanks, Jay, for all the details.
Yeah.
We will do our best to keep this thing covered up to and including a test drive of this sucker when we can get access to it. So definitely want to be subscribed for that. Let's see. I think you pretty much covered it. Here, how about I leave you guys with this? So we've been talking about the retro design of the Z, the fighter pilots, the Zeros. One of life's biggest questions, Jay, and I know you've heard this one before, but talking about those kamikaze pilots, those Japanese Zero pilots, why did those guys wear helmets?
Right? Right.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for watching, everybody. That's Jay over there.
I'm here.
Somewhere.
Keith over there. Keith's out there. He's out there on campus.
We will see you soon.
Take care, guys.
So Jay, it turns out that if you leave your phone sitting out in the sun while you're using it for internet connections, it'll overheat and kick you
Yeah.
off the meeting.
Well, one of these days they'll come out with a radiator for that thing.